So this happens quite a lot when I'm working with students in different rating ranges, especially I would say for the players between 1,000 and 1,400. I get this question quite often. Well, this isn't in my notes. What do I do? That comes with overall understanding of the position. And typically when you're studying positions, you start with the main line first and you try to understand the ideas not just on your side of the board, but your opponent's ideas and their goals. If you understand the main line, you can then kind of go backwards to understand what your opponent is trying to do and make associations and try to stop it. In this case, we're going to take a look at a 1 minute game that I played. And keep in mind, you don't really have time to think. You need to intuitively know in 1 minute games how to handle positions. So let's dive right in. And, I've been partial for a long time to playing, say, fianchetto systems. So I'm pretty comfortable with how to deal with positions overall with this. And when you know a little bit of theory from facing, say, the symmetrical four knights English to King's Indian to Grunfeld, those are the main responses here. My opponent played b6 with a double fianchetto. And the double fianchetto can be played against a lot of systems. But in this case, when looking at ChessBase, not Lee Chess Masters database, because I often get that in the comments on Save for Chessable. Well, the statistics in the Lee Chess Masters. Let me go ahead and interrupt you right there, because ChessBase, much larger, much more accurate, much better. If you want to have a theoretical discussion, use the best resources. And you definitely want to make sure that you have correspondence games in that resource as well, because a lot of modern authors, that's pretty much the majority of games, are not coming from the elite games, but correspondence level games. So you got guys spending weeks toiling with their engine to try to come up with moves. Use that instead. Continuing. This is a critical moment. I'm going to give you time, especially if you play this type of position with white. You need to know how to handle an odd move, something that's not in your notes. So if I compare to, say, the King's Indian, where black is going to be playing d6 and e5, what's the difference? Black's not fighting over the center. Not playing d5 with the Grunfeld. Black's not fighting over the center. Not playing c5 with the English. Black's not fighting over the center. So the hint there is we king the center. We take it. d4. And now after bishop b7, we have reached something that's been played many times. And in fact, when I'm looking at the database, knight c3 has been played in this position 1,000 times, and black wins 3% more of the games than white. The second move is what I played, and white wins 60% of the games. Interesting. What move do you think I played here? Did you say shut down the bishop? Because why not take space, lay claim to ownership of the center, and shut down the bishop on b7? So he goes d6, and now it's a bit of a pseudo-hybrid King's Indian where your bishop's out of play on b7. So I'm going to continue with normal, natural moves now. Knight c3. And now after knight d7, I see a particular possibility here, and I play the first choice move of the engine as well as in the database, knight d4. Eyeing that c6 square that can't really be fought over at this point. Black dares to touch a c-pawn. I'm going to capture on c6 with a pawn, and that's a bad day. So a6. And the engine likes to slow play here with either a3 or rook b1 and gradually press the space advantage on the king side. Being it's a 1 minute game, I just go ahead and hop right in knight c6 because I know that's going to be a hard knight to deal with, and more than likely they're going to capture. and I've got a critical imbalance. My bishop is now much stronger, and it's supporting this bone in the throat pawn. And my opponent should definitely go knight c5 or knight e5, but after knight b8, now it's a question of paralysis. Can I keep black's pieces bad? And this will show you my intuition. I mean, the first move of the engine is b4, but there's some things to calculate here. As it's a 1-minute game, you kind of want to play with some safety. I do see the idea like b4, b5 to secure the c-pawn and kind of keep that knight out of the game on b8. But when you don't have time to calculate to assure that things are going to work out and the complications are in your favor, you play a calm move first. I'm just going to watch the knight, so when I'm going to play b4, I'm in good shape. Black plays e6, now b4, b5, and where is this guy going? The rest of the game, that's a big, big problem. So essentially, black is a piece down, and now I'm going to slow improve because black doesn't have a clear plan. There's no reason to rush here. I'm going to let him continue to do what he wants to do, but I'm going to optimize my position in the meantime. So first a4. That limited the scope of the rook on a8 because inevitably he's going to capture on b5. And after d5, bishop a3 immediately is a move that would go after the rook, but I played bishop b2 first. Again, 1-minute game, playing quickly. Knight h7. And now here I see the possibility to open up the position more with e4. And after knight e2, e5, I am highly encouraged to play bishop a3 because there's no longer any issues down the long diagonal from the bishop on g7. So let's go ahead and clip that. And now let's improve the worst placed piece in the position. In this case, the knight on e2. The bishop on g2, he's going to have potential once I accomplish the f4 break. But I had the mind, I want to get this piece improved. And it's interesting because f4 is liked by Stockfish 15 at 6.86 pawns. And knight c1, the move that I played, is liked by 6.39. And the evaluation is changing by the time I finish my sentence. But when there is no risk to improve the position, why not improve the position? And it gives your opponent more time to play moves which may have no bearing. So I improve the position to the maximum, connect the rooks, get the knight on a much more flexible square, and only then he hangs the knight. So let's take that one. Say, would you like to trade off more active pieces? No? Good man. f4. And there's a rook hanging. You should take those. But I was so focused on what I was doing that I decided not to grab the free rook. Again, improve the worst placed piece. And it's interesting, even in 1-minute games, how positional-based players or older players that don't calculate as much, we miss these things. And I had one of the last videos on the channel, I was playing an Alekhine, I believe, against either a CM or an FM, and he just dropped a piece on like move 8, a knight in the middle of the board. And I know a lot of the viewers are sitting there screaming, well, how are you missing this type of thing? This happens very frequently when you're a point A to B thinker and you don't train tactics. Like, it's probably been 11 years since I did serious tactical training. So these one movers, I miss constantly, to be completely honest. But am I ruining anything? Not really. Because after check, takes, every piece has come to bear. And the only chance black could theoretically have is some kind of perpetual check. But if he's giving me the opportunity to trade down further, I'm going to. And he got the queen closer to the king. And that's just not going to do it as queen f7. And you can pick your way that you would like to lose the game here. king h8 runs into knight takes g6 mate, and king h6 runs into queen takes g6 mate. Didn't miss that tactic. And that'll do it for this quick video. And again, the moral of this is to not show one idea for one position, but to understand why when a lot of authors are putting the fluff up front in a book, and this is very common with opening publications, put all the sidelines and the minor stuff up front in the book. You need to figure out what is the main line. Start with learning the main line and go backwards to study the things that are most popular or what you're facing most frequently. Because depending upon the rating brand that you're in, you're going to face different things. And your perception of studying openings needs to change as your rating changes. More on that in a future video.